Hello, hi, thank you for clicking on my video. Today we're going to be looking at the portrayals of Africans and African culture in art, but more specifically the more ignorant and racist art. But before we get into the video, please subscribe. I'm trying to get more into YouTube and to post more actively, so I would really appreciate the support. Okay, so through this video, I've decided to structure it by questions. So I'm going to be answering a series of questions that should help explain my series, but if you do have any more than the ones that I address, then please feel free to ask me in the comments below. The first question is, why are we even looking at racist art that portrays Africa in a negative light? Second question is, what is the racist art that depicts Africans as savages? Thirdly is, what are the effects of this type of art? Why does it matter? And the last question is, how does redrawing this art help? What's the point? Okay, so we are just going to jump right into the first question, which is about why we are even looking at art that depicts Africans in a negative or racist way. So personally, I'd like to address that as a black woman and somebody who has a passion for art, race and art are two very important topics for me, and it's sad when I see a medium that I love used in a negative way. Racist art does have a lot of negative effects, which I will be discussing in the video, that are not going to change if we just ignore the topic. Ignoring the racist art doesn't change the fact that it exists, that it will continue to exist, and that the damage of these art and these racist depictions has already been done. Also, the aim of this series for me is to educate and do what I can to actively change the stereotypes by redrawing the art in a better light. I think this type of art definitely exists a lot because of ignorance, and I think when we educate ourselves, it really helps us realize why things like that are completely unacceptable and what we can do. And as well, throughout history, art has represented the views of the people that have lived at the time of that art, and in the age that we live now, it is very different to the one that was there before, and I feel like our art should represent that. Next question. What is the racist art that depicts Africans and their culture in a negative light? So I have a series on TikTok where I redraw racist art, and if you look at the beginning of the video for this one, I showed a series of a few examples. It's also what I do for the rest of my series, so if you wanted to check out those videos too, please feel free. A few examples that I can list for you is that you can see this type of art firstly historically, but you can see it through different mediums such as comics from the older Dr. Seuss, paintings, games, TV shows for children like the Looney Tunes, costumes, and pretty much anywhere else that you can find art. Okay, so I'm really not that great at editing, to be honest with you, so I don't know if I will be able to actually add examples on the screen, but like I said, I do have some examples in my TikTok, and also I've also got a link to the Ferris University website because they have a fascinating Jim Crow museum, and it just has so much information and pictures and images on different racist mobilia, so that would be a great place to look if you are interested as well. But anyway, a quick gist of the art is that it portrays Africans as stupid, uncivilized, dirty, poor, etc., and it mocks the way that they look and the clothes that they wear, often stereotyping and generalizing Africa into sort of one culture when it's a huge continent filled with so many different cultures. Third question, which is, why does it matter? what is the effect of this art? Is it important or significant at all? To answer that question personally, I would answer yes, it is important, and yes, it is significant. Writers such as B.M. Taylor in his book argued that these depictions in art and throughout the media and politics foster a racist public opinion which has promoted the racial segregation and subordination through the turn of the century. Naturally, you would assume the racist art perpetuates outdated and negative stereotypes. This is significant and this is important because if this were to be the only reference that we have, which in the past it was the only references that they had, then that has a huge influence on ignorance and attitudes and beliefs about Africans and their cultures. And it's very interesting as well to me because this type of art never differentiates between the different cultures within Africa, even within countries, because when you think of a lot of modern countries, they're only countries because they were separated into these countries that we have today. But if you look at the history, within these countries there are different people from completely different tribes. So that's another reason why it's important, because they are different people, of course, in Africa, and you'd think that would be obvious. But I wonder how many people you would ask who would assume that Africa is pretty much a country with the same sort of people and the same sort of beliefs. And a quick look at one more study from 2014 by AINA reports that these negative images and portrayals of Africa have perpetuated these stereotypes and contribute to this culture of ignorance and paternalism that we have in Western societies. The final point that I'm going to make about this question of why it's important is because of the real world implications, which I touched on a little bit before. But these racist art and these depictions do have real world implications. They affect people, they affect the way that they live, the way that people treat them, their likelihood of getting jobs, because biases have a huge influence on the way we live. And honestly, I feel like I could read 100 papers on this because I find the subject really interesting. Okay, I really don't want to get into conspiracy theories or anything, but this isn't really a conspiracy theory because it is true, but one more very real world example of the effects of these stereotypes on Africans would be medical experimentation in Africa, the way that they had studies that say black people felt pain differently to white people, and I'll even attach a Wikipedia link which shows some of the real world implications of stereotyping Africans, because it really changes the way that people justify, view and treat them. And here we have the final question, which is, why would I be redrawing this art? We have already had a look at how portraying people in a negative light and an ignorant way has negative effects, so it makes sense to me that portraying them in a positive way would do the opposite. Which is funny to me because it kind of makes me think about countries that force propaganda about how positive and amazing their countries are. But anyway, I digress. I tried to draw the subject of the art by taking away all of the negative and ignorant biases, and I tried to replace them with more accurate and positive imagery. It definitely isn't a perfect solution because there are things that are a little bit more difficult to portray, like intelligence or just the diversity. Like, it's not the easiest thing to just portray on a drawing, but I try and do what I can. So what I tried to do with this picture included drawing Africa with an actual city, because it would be so surprising to hear how many people don't believe that they have actual cities in Africa, and that there isn't green grass and Africa is not just a brown continent full of huts. Very surprising stuff, but yes, do believe me when I say they have grass and they have cities. I have seen them for myself with my own two eyes. And also by drawing a beautiful, strong, beautiful black woman who looks very confident as the main character. Something very random is that I also tried to give her, I don't know what they're called, but you know the little puffs on her shoulders, the little triangles, because I feel like those are a sign of a very powerful woman. So yeah, I just decided to stick that in there. So yes, this is the end of my video, and that is the whole entire story behind just that one drawing. And something I'd like to add as well for other artists is I think it would be a lot more powerful if other artists out there did consider redrawing racist art, because we would have so many amazing, beautiful, uplifting, meaningful pieces of art out there. If you guys have any more questions, please feel free to ask down in the comments below. If you have any suggestions of art that you think I should withdraw, also please let me know. I would really appreciate that. Please like and subscribe and have a wonderful day.